Hello everyone. In this video we're going to install PHP on our computer. Now I want to be clear, if you are on a Mac, you can safely skip this video and go to the next one. That video is the same topic, it's just targeted for Mac users. But this video is just for Windows users. So how do we get started? How do we install PHP on our Windows computer? Well, there are at least 100 different ways that you could do this. So really quick, before we jump into the action, I want to explain my own personal philosophy or thought process on what I'm going to recommend that you do. Essentially, and you can see I have all these different tabs open in my browser, there are many different programs that you can download and they will, quote, automatically install PHP on your computer. So there's Laravel, that's a great option. Bitnami has a WAMP installer. WAMP just stands for Windows Apache MySQL, and the P stands for PHP, right? So PHP would get automatically installed when you install a bundle like this. Same thing with XAMPP or MAMP for Windows. And then in terms of official Laravel solutions, there's Laravel Homestead, Laravel Sail, and these will install local development environments that have PHP automatically installed, and that's great. So all of these options that I just showed, and there's 30 other options out there similar to that, they're wonderful. However, when you're just getting started, I want to remove all of the magic and mystery out of the equation for you. In other words, I don't want you to necessarily use the option that's the easiest to just click on and work. I want you to use the option that's the easiest to actually understand what's going on, so that there's zero confusion about what's happening, what a PHP application is, so on and so forth, right? And also, you might be like me, I don't like to just visit seemingly random websites and install seemingly random programs onto my Windows computer. That feels, unsafe or insecure to me, right? Because these different programs, they're bundled with several different technologies, and sometimes maybe you don't want to install a bundle on a Windows computer. Maybe instead you want to know exactly what you're installing from a 101% trustworthy source. So, what are we going to do? Here's what I recommend. I recommend that you visit the official PHP website, right? So it's php.net. This is the official website. So here's how I would install PHP on a Windows computer. I'm not saying that this is, quote unquote, the correct or right way. It's just one of many different ways, and it's what I recommend. So from the official website, php.net, go ahead and click on the download link. Okay, from this screen, I want you to click this option right here. It should just be a couple links down that says Windows Downloads. That should take you to a screen that looks something like this. And now when you watch this video, it's not going to be this exact same version. So it's okay, your version numbers do not need to be the exact same as you see in this video. But the point is, just for whatever version it takes you to, when you click on that downloads for Windows, it's probably this first option here. And what I want you to do is click on the zip file download. So I'm not clicking download source code, I'm not clicking download test package. In this area, you'll see zip. I just want you to go ahead and download the zip file right about here. So I'm going to click that. Okay, you can see down here it's downloading. That'll take just a minute. Let me edit that out and jump ahead to when I have the file. Okay, so once our download finishes, just go into your downloads folder. Here's that zip file. So just go ahead and right click on it and choose extract all. Well, there should be some type of extract option. Just choose that. The default options are okay. Just click go ahead or extract. Cool, so now back in your downloads folder, yes, we have the zip file, but now we have this just regular folder with all of the PHP files inside it. Here's what I'm going to do. I want you to right click on that new folder and let's rename it. So in Windows 11, there's this option right about here, up here, that is rename, or you could always click show more options. Here's the traditional, Windows 10, Windows 7 looking menu, but just go ahead and rename the folder and let's just rename it to PHP. You don't need to do this. I just think it's easier to look at and easier to type. Cool. Now let's go ahead and move this folder to live somewhere on our computer that feels a bit more permanent, right? Because the downloads folder doesn't feel very permanent. That feels sort of temporary. So here's what I'm going to do. Go ahead and right click on the folder and choose cut. So again, there's this scissor option right about here that can cut, Or you could click the Show More Options, and then from this classic menu, choose Cut. Cool. Now from here, this is just my opinion, but I'm going to paste it or move it into my Program Files directory, just so that it feels a bit more permanent. So go into your This PC option, right? Sort of viewing your PC as a whole. Go into your main or primary C drive. And then there's Program Files and Program Files x86. Again, it doesn't really matter where you put it, but I'm going to put it in just the regular Program Files folder. So I'll go into that folder. And then from this area, just go ahead and paste. It's actually kind of tricky to find an empty area on the screen to right-click and choose Paste, because you don't want to paste into one of these folders. So you can actually just use this option up in the top menu, Paste. Or what you could do if we go back is right-click on the Program Files folder, and then from this menu, you could click this option to paste, or you could go into the Show More Options and click Paste. But either way, so I'm going to do that right now. And then just give Windows administrative permissions to go ahead and add files to the Program Files folder. But the point is either way, if I go into Program Files now, there is a folder named PHP. Perfect. At this point, what we want to do now is set things up so that from a command line or from a terminal, we can execute PHP. So in other words, we just need to let Windows know that if we type PHP in a command line, we want to point towards a file that lives in this directory. Let me explain what I mean. So if you open up your Start menu and you begin to search for Terminal, there should be a program. If you're on Windows 11, you already have a program called Windows Terminal. If you're on Windows 10, you could just use the command prompt, or on Windows 10, you can go into the Microsoft Store and there's a free download called Windows Terminal. But anyways, if I go into my terminal, it's just a generic command line. If I type PHP, -- version to try to run PHP and press enter, obviously it doesn't work. And that's because we didn't tell Windows about this new folder in our Program Files folder called PHP. So essentially, we just need to connect the dots. We need Windows to know where to look on our system when we try to use PHP from the command prompt. So here's how we do that. Go ahead and open your Start menu, and I want you to begin typing or searching for something called variables. When you search for the word variables, you should see something called Edit the System Environment Variables. It's in your control panel. So we're just going to go into that. For some reason, it just launched it and then hid the screen really quick, but it opened up this new system properties screen. And I want you to click down here where I'm highlighting this little button called Environment Variables. Go ahead and click on that. And now from this screen, in the bottom half of the screen down here under System Variables, I want you to find the item called Path. So not Path X, but just Path. I want you to either double click on the path row to edit it, or you can click it once and then click the edit button. But I'm going to double click it. From this screen, I want you to click on the first empty row, or you can click the new button here. But we're just going to point towards that PHP folder. So it's uppercase C, colon, and then not a /, but a backslash. It must be a backslash on Windows. And then it's program space files / lowercase PHP. You can press enter, go ahead and click OK from this screen. And now this is important. From this screen where we clicked on path here, do not just close this screen with the X in the top right corner. We need to specifically click the OK button at the very bottom of this screen. At the moment, I can't even see that because my screen is too zoomed in and large. But if I zoom out a little bit, right now we can see that at the bottom of this screen, the same screen where we had to double click on path, we do indeed see an OK button down here. So that's just a quick tip to save you some frustration. I have made the mistake in the past of just clicking the X button here. You need to click the OK button or it's not going to save and remember these changes that we just made. But go ahead and click OK. Cool. And now let's open up a brand new fresh Windows terminal. So I'm going to close the command line and just open up your Windows terminal or command prompt once again. So we have a fresh new instance of it. And now if we say PHP space, -- version, well, we no longer see the red error message that says command not found, but I was expecting it to say the version number of PHP that we have. Okay, off camera, I just did a little bit of research, and if you're using a Windows computer that you've had for a little bit of time, like a few months or a year, your command right here probably worked when you did -- or PHP -- version. However, if you're using a brand new Windows computer or you've recently reformatted and you haven't installed very many programs yet, I think we're just missing a C++ redistributable library. So for example, if you go into the program files PHP folder, and in that folder you can find the application that's just called PHP, and if you double click it, you can see I'm getting a VC runtime 140 DLL error. Now again, you would never receive this error if you were installing this on a computer that you've already installed a lot of software on, but on a brand new fresh Windows installation, you might run into this same issue that I'm running into. So all you need to do is go to Google and search for C++ Windows download. And I'm just looking for this first link, latest supported Visual C++ redistributable download. So from this official Microsoft page, I'm going to download the file. If I scroll down just a little bit, here we see a table. Under architecture, I'm going to click on the x64. If you're using a computer built in the last several years, that's the option you'll want as well. I'm just going to download this exe file from the official Microsoft website. Cool, so it's only about 24 megabytes it looks like. I'm going to go into my downloads folder and just double click that file from the Microsoft website. Just click I agree. You can just go through all of the default options, but go ahead and get that installed. Okay, that was super quick. Now, let me go ahead and you might need to relaunch the terminal, you might not need to, but if I try php version now, perfect. It immediately works. So this is how you know if you're successful for this video lesson. We just want to be able to run PHP from the command line. And the best way to test that it's actually working is with PHP space -- version. You can see I'm getting, PHP version 8.1.10. Beautiful. Your version number that you see here in your command line does not need to match mine. That's not the point. As long as you see some sort of version number here, though, you're successful. Now, before we move on to the next lesson and actually start to get our hands dirty and code a little bit of PHP and learn about the language itself, I want to first have you make a few adjustments to your PHP installation so that it will play nicely with our Laravel project that we're going to build. Here's what I want you to do. In your program files directory, so in the C drive, program files, go into your PHP folder. In this folder, we want to make edits to the file that's named php.ini. Now, I actually don't have a file with that exact name, but you might have a file, if you don't, named php.ini-development. So if that's the case and you're seeing what I'm seeing, let's just rename that file and just take off the -development, right? We just want the file to be named php.ini. Okay, now we just want to make a couple quick adjustments to this file. So we want to edit this file in a text editor. Now, because it's in a system protected folder like program files, we can't just double click it necessarily. So let me show you what I would do. If you right click in this folder, you can click open in Windows Terminal. So that has opened your command prompt pointing towards the PHP folder. Now we can say code to use VS Code, space, and then just type in php.ini to begin editing that file. So we can press enter. It's going to launch up VS Code. It's going to open up that file. We can go ahead and click Trust Workspace and continue. And then in order to make sure that our development environment will play nicely with Laravel, I just want you to search for, so Control F to begin searching, search for file info. So you should see around line number 919, there's this line extension equals file info. Just remove the semicolon, delete the semicolon from the very start of the line like this. So now it's no longer commented out. Do the same thing for the line right below that where it says extension equals GD. Go ahead and get rid of the semicolon at the start. And we also want to do the same thing for this one that says extension equals curl. I didn't have us Control F for curl because there's a lot of instances or mentions of curl in this file. So searching for file info is an easy way to find these extensions, but just go ahead and enable the curl extension. So just remove this leading semicolon. We also want to do the same thing for MB string, the MB string extension. So uncomment that. We also want to do the same thing for open SSL. So at the start of this line, and we also want to do the same thing for PDO MySQL. So at the start of that line, uncomment it. Cool. So we just enabled all of these different PHP extensions. Now we need to make sure that Windows can successfully find those extension files. So if you perform a Control F for extension _dir, and then we're not interested in this SQLite 3 extension dir. If you push enter again, these are the lines we're interested in. So around line number 763, we see, on Windows extension directory equals ext. So uncomment that by getting rid of this leading semicolon. And then for this value, instead of ext, let's provide an absolute path to the correct folder. If you're wondering where the correct folder would be, it would just be in our program files in our PHP folder. In the PHP folder, there's a folder named ext. So we just want the path to that to be absolute. So for this value, inside the double quotes, it would just be, uppercase C : and then not / but \, program space files \, lowercase php \ ext. Cool. While we're in this file, also press Control F and search for memory _limit. Now, on a Mac or on a Linux production server, I've never needed to change this value, but for some reason on a Windows local dev environment, I do recommend bumping this up from 128 M up to 256 M. I've found that without doing this, I can't resize large JPEGs on the server side without running into problems. Okay, but that's it. At this point, we can go ahead and save this file. So just Control S or the File menu, click Save. Beautiful. So at this point, we've successfully installed PHP and we've configured it so that it will run very well with local Laravel projects. In our very next lesson, we're going to get our hands dirty and actually write a little bit of PHP code and learn about the language itself. This should be a lot of fun. Let's keep things rolling, and I'll see you then.